in a truck. It's July 1st. Of course, Pride Month, International Pride Month, is over actually last night, but of course locally we still have Charlotte Pride. We have some events coming up towards the end of July all the way through what would have been our Pride weekend in person, but we are going to be having a virtual Pride. There's going to be, in fact, I will be in the meeting tonight as one of the organizers, and we are developing some programming. Definitely stay tuned to the Charlotte Pride Facebook page, because there is going to be a lot of cool things, opportunities for people that have participated in Pride in the past. You're going to have personal opportunities to be able to get involved in some very innovative ways and have a little fun, maybe a little TikTok, maybe a little bit of Instagram. we're gonna use all the Google machines and all the other new highfalutin technology. I'm not
highfalutin.
Those fancy things. I've got it. I don't even have a TikTok page yet. I downloaded the app, but I haven't even gotten on the deal yet. I'm still figuring out Instagram, which I've got an inordinate amount of followers, mostly men, that like looking at me in outfits. I don't think, and it's funny because I do put that I'm a transgender woman on my Instagram page. It has that I am. But I don't think it dawns on them. Of course, I've got makeup on and filters and these really attractive outfits, and they just see the silhouette of a woman. They don't care. I mean, they honestly, at least as a follower. But this is Two Queers in a Truck, and my ride or die, Christian Cano, is the one driving.
Hello, everyone.
And
welcome.
We are. Where are we heading today? Where are we going?
I figured we would go visit our Pondusi sponsor for our show, our other show, Manola's Bakery.
Oh, I've met Manola.
Okay.
But he brought the cakes for Jorge's reception after he ran for office. The cakes, the celebration cakes, were amazing. The guys. If you've never had a cake from him, or you've never had a pastry from him, or their food.
So technically, that's Plaza Midwood we're going to.
Okay.
I guess technically, is that the east side?
That's the east side.
East side. So it's Matt Newton. Matt Newton's. I think where his shop is Matt Newton's district. City council person Matt Newton.
I think so.
But Plaza Midwood is Larkin. So they're kind of. But
I think he's right on the border.
Yes.
But I've never been to the shop, but I have seen the address and advertising.
And then County Commission, that's Mark Jarrell's area.
Yeah,
I believe. So
I do believe it's Mark Jarrell's. Yeah. So because he's at East Side.
That's right, East Side. He's also uptown. Uptown, east side, downtown. He's got a huge area.
And the county commission districts are so different than the city council districts. Obviously for geography's sake. Mecklenburg counties. I don't think people realize, especially if they're not from this area. So if we have watchers outside of the greater Charlotte area, they don't realize how big the county of Mecklenburg is versus the city of Charlotte. And it's a massive geographical. If you've ever driven around 485, which is our loop, it would take you an hour and a half. Probably.
It is a pretty big county. I mean, in comparison to, it's a pretty spread out county. Well, Charlotte's a pretty spread out city.
It is. It's a lot like San Antonio.
All right, hold on. I gotta get on. Sorry, I had to be a little rough there to get on the road.
That's all right. We're bigger than you attitude right then and there. Like luckily we weren't in your Porsche or my little Kia, because we would have been in trouble.
That big old truck behind us. So you'll see. So Pride is over in America.
Well,
United States, or how does that?
Pride Month is every June. For people that aren't in the LGBT community, and they saw tons of rainbow stuff all over the social medias. So officially, that's Pride Month because it's a commemoration of the Stonewall riots that happened in 1969, in June of 1969. So we had that going on. There was a lot of things this last weekend that commemorated. I know in LA, Chicago, New York, San Fran. They all did a ton of virtual stuff. Nobody did any in-person stuff. London, everybody's banking on that we'll get Corona under control, COVID under control in 2021. But every Pride event that I know of from the end of the year, but different regions celebrate Pride at different times. Some of it's because of weather.
Yeah, like Charlotte, right? Is that why we're...
Charlotte does Pride in August for a lot of reasons. For one, New York City, Washington, D.C. Do their Prides in June.
Yeah.
So to be able to draw people from those locales, which we do, we move it to August. The other is to be a good corporate partner with the city, because the city, NASCAR has a lot of big events in June.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of conflict reasons, because we do have Pride in Uptown, our downtown, our beautiful metropolitan downtown, Uptown area. And so to really partner with the city that provides us with so many services, they made an effort a long time ago to do it in August. But you see a lot of, like Atlanta, I believe they do theirs in October.
Yeah. Dallas, September.
Dallas does September.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a lot of cities. I think Fort Lauderdale does theirs in like February now, which totally makes sense, because you know, a lot of people don't want to go to South Florida in the middle of the summer. You know, and for heat reasons, there's so much tourism going on anyway. You know, and that's another thing. A lot of times it's also based on the highs of the regional tourism. You know, whereas New York City, some of the biggest prides in the world, they continue to do them in June. LA does theirs in June. San Francisco, but they do alternate them. So Washington D.C. is usually earlier in June, and then Pride weekends in New York are the last 2 weekends.
I know we talked about this before. You've been to Dallas Pride.
Yeah.
Panhandle Pride, which is the Texas Panhandle, right?
I served on the board there.
And Charlotte Pride.
Yes.
Have you been to any other cities at Pride?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, over my lifetime,
okay.
I've probably been to, gosh, at least 15 or 20.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know, and I've been to Houston Pride several times.
I've never been to... Yeah, I've never done that.
They do a good one. You know,
it's just so hot.
It is hot. It is muggy. They do theirs in June. So they when they were doing in-person prides, which, you know, hopefully again we get to do those next year, but they do theirs usually they usually did them the same weekend that Panhandle Pride. So Panhandle Pride does theirs the last weekend in June.
Okay.
And then Albuquerque and Oklahoma City also do prides on different weekends. So, which are all in driving distance of Amarillo, Texas. But there is a lot of, you know, and I've been to the Albuquerque Pride, and I've been to the Oklahoma City Pride. There's a lot of cities that do Pride now. You know, 20 years ago when we were baby days, you know,
20?
At least 20 for us. You know,
30.
We were middle-aged 20 years ago. But I mean, 20 and 30 years ago, a lot of cities didn't have Pride. If they did, it was very small. It was very, I don't want to say sketch, but it was just kind of on the down low. You know, it wasn't welcoming. Even here in Charlotte, only the last 15 or 20 years that they had a really big organized Pride from the history that Charlotte Pride did.
You know, interesting you say that, Jenny. My first Pride that I went to was in Dallas, and this had to be, I'm going to say 91, 92, maybe somewhere, maybe even somewhere around that, maybe before that. And I don't remember, there were some protesters, but I don't ever, I guess because my experience in the LGBT community as a gay male, I didn't get a lot of like negativeness. I mean, my first experience was like, wow, this is you know, this is cool, and everyone was accepting, and I was sheltered because I lived in the neighborhood in Oak Lawn. I think, and so I didn't see.
But I think that was a lot of it. I mean, I think that's why we had so many back in the day. LGBT communities in the bars and the restaurants that we frequented. we really stayed to ourselves for a long time. We stayed very segregated, and now you drive through Charlotte especially during June, and you'll see rainbow flags in all neighborhoods. It isn't even in South Charlotte and Union County. I've driven through and see a rainbow and HRC flags and people's lawns in $1 million home neighborhoods, and you did not see that 20 or 30 years ago. So if you were in the gayborhood, in the predominant gay area of your city that you lived in, if you lived in a big city, you didn't see the scariness that if you lived out in the rural area.
So do you think it was more like, which is why there are many mainly gay men,
right,
and mainly gay white men, who don't always understand the challenges that maybe rural gay people or gay people of color or transgender people go through, because we had the luxury and we could afford to live in that sheltered community.
Oh yeah.
And as a result of that, our experience was this, that's great. Well, and so when we hear people go, oh, this, we're like, what are you complaining about? I mean, I didn't see that. It's a little bit
of a generational thing.
Yeah,
too.
Okay.
So I think some of it's generational. I think the pre-1990s gay male remembers a very tough time, no matter who you were. I think once Clinton became president, you saw a little lessening of it. But then you also saw that moral contract for America, Newt Gingrich movement in the mid '90s with all the teabaggers. And I think that they shifted, like they had the moral high ground. So you start seeing protests.
Explain. This is what's so funny. I don't mean to find humor in it, but in the gay world, and I guess in many worlds, teabagging means
a whole different thing. Well, I meant a double entendre with that.
So it was so funny when these Tea Party people started doing their thing, and we were calling them teabaggers. A lot of them didn't know
what we really meant.
Exactly. And so I always thought it was so funny because they had no clue that we were calling them something
way different. Way different. Every time it was a special buddy system. You're a good buddy if you teabag your buddy. Y'all, I'm not going to explain it because it is kind of graphic. But I will say, if you really want a good laugh and you don't know what teabagging is, just Google the slang for what a teabagger is.
So I didn't interrupt you.
It's a great story.
But it is like this. Not anymore. But at that time, it was this hidden joke between in our LGBT community and maybe even our allies when we would call them the teabaggers. It was not it was funny. And so
it's definitely a slur of the righteous Tea Party people and all that they thought that they stood for. and which is the irony that they were all about freedom, but only for themselves. Only for rich white people.
As they were wearing shirts made in China, driving Korean-made cars, I always thought that was kind of flags that were made weren't made in America, which now
made in Taiwan.
Yeah, they're made in Taiwan. So
anyway, I think there's always a delicious irony. Turn on the sound on that one, so get the double. But I think one of the ironies of all conservative movements is how hypocritical they are about freedoms and all that, and I think that's where a lot of the pride protesters that did turn a little bit more aggressive. I know Charlotte in the late 90s disbanded pride for a little while because of security reasons, or maybe early 2000s. I know there was a year or two.
Yeah, there was a time where they stopped.
And then I want to say somewhere around 2000, 2001, they reincorporated it, and they took security measures. Yeah, and I think it's been very stable since then. And now, we're drawing crowds last year of 200,000 plus. I mean, now it's a major event. It's a major festival that has a weird relationship. I know a lot of people in the LGBT community have mixed feelings about large corporate prides. I love it. I love the show. I love the show solidarity. I love when straight allies come out to it. I think,
but the purchasing power,
the purchasing power,
yes.
too. Yeah,
So that's another thing that it shows.
I think that's huge because I think people want to shop with brands that
acknowledge them.
They acknowledge that,
Exactly,
and you know, and corporations that really stuck their neck out there, like Target, for example, on the transgender thing in the bathrooms. And there's so many companies that have had very good policies. Walmart Corp has always had a good solidarity with the LGBT community, especially their Sam's Club brand. Donates to a lot of charities, including a lot of local prides all over the country. There's a lot of companies, whether they put it in their branding or not, or they keep it on the down low, that contribute to prides, and a lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions that are willing to have, I mean, like Wells Fargo and Bank of America had huge displays at Pride last year. And they marched. The Bank of America contingent was right behind me. I drove in the Pride last year. I drove one of the dignitaries, one of our, I can't even think of one of our parade marshals, and they were right behind us, and they were massive. It had to have been,
there was a lot.
I want to say B of A had at least 100 to 200 people marching, and I'm roughly estimating it, and that's impressive because when we were young, that would have never happened. That would have never happened.
I remember telling someone my first Pride I ever went to, and there was at that time there weren't a lot of churches that were part of it. And I remember seeing one church. It was the UMCC or MCC church.
Well, that's a gay church.
Yes. Well, I didn't know that, and I saw that, and I had never seen that before, and I just started bawling. I was like, oh my, I never. And then as we've seen, even at this Pride in Charlotte, you have denominations, you have churches, people of faith embracing you. And it's so beautiful to see that, because
it's been such a change.
Yeah.
I mean, because you and I both, were children of the 70s and 80s, and then we lived through the pandemic of AIDS and HIV, and we saw the worst of society and how they viewed the LGBT community. And we've also seen the best. We've gotten to see this renaissance to where it's cool to go to Pride. It's cool. And you're talking about straight dudes. Hanging out with other straight dudes, walking through the middle of Pride, and happy they're there. I remember a time 25 years ago where you had straight friends that were like, oh, I don't know if I should go to that bar with y'all because that's like a gay space. And, am I invading your space? What will people think? And now you see big groups of, when you go to gay bars, at least half the patrons aren't LGBT. That's the wild thing. And a lot of them will say, I love going here because you guys are so welcoming, and when you go to a regular club, so many clubs are so attitude or bougie or whatever, and most gay spaces are very welcoming because we know what it feels like to be on the outside looking in.
Well, funny, when I was in college, most of the people went to the gay bars, and the reason the fraternity guys justified it was because of the cheap drinks. It was like 15-cent call drinks, or well drinks, 15-cent well drinks, a quarter well drinks, or all the beer you can drink for like $3, or whatever. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny because that was their.
I always thought that was funny when they came on the specials nights, especially if it was like Latin night on Tuesdays and there was 50-cent tequila shots or something like that, and I'm like, we're just here for the free drinks. I'm like, it's all good, there's no judgment. Fine, we didn't think anything of it. We didn't know if you were gay or straight, but you're good, brother. Like,
good. Idiot.
Oops.
He decides to cross right when the
like when it was illegal.
Right when the
a nice skateboard though.
Yeah, it was nice, but
that's actually a $high skateboard, just so you know. I don't know what he spent on it, but it's not cheap or free. But yeah, I think that's one of the phenomenons though during COVID is people that are pedestrians or people riding skateboards and bikes. they've gotten so used to so few cars being on the road.
Yeah.
That I've noticed now that people are making really bad decisions on when to cross. I saw this the other day on Fairview, and this lady crossed the road, and she had a tough time getting across.
Yeah.
But when she went, she timed it, and like, I mean, there was cars. There was a green light, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't get out of my car and just scoop her up if I could have, if I could have picked her up. I mean, because I was like, I don't want to scare you, but like, I'm afraid you're gonna get run over, you know, and you know, especially these really wide roads like Central and Fairview, where people are doing 45, 50 miles per hour. That to me is always the worst thing.
Yeah.
Is seeing pedestrians at risk. But and I think people have gotten used to in COVID of just kind of doing what they want.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, I don't know. I was indoors for 61 days, so I never got out on the road.
There was no one. I mean, when the shutdown or the stay-at-home order or whatever you call it started, I remember driving down Providence or Colony Road, and there was no one. It was like a ghost. It was so wonderful.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can tell we're in phase 2. People are starting to get out a little bit more and whatever.
Sure, yeah.
But it was like completely different. I was like
the 6 weeks, 5 weeks, or however long since I escaped quarantine. It's been way different. You know, the first time I went out to the store was bizarre. I mean, honestly, it was May 23rd, I believe. It was the day after we went into phase 1. And I ventured out, or no, the day after we went into phase 2. I was still staying quarantined in phase 1, and it was very bizarre. It was very, very different. It was still very slow. Like when I went to Harris Teeter, even that big one was like empty.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I mean, you could have 30 people in there and
still
not
feels
see
empty,
each other because it's the size of a football
Are you talking about the one where you used to live?
Yeah, the South Side one.
Yeah,
it's massive. I mean, it's a superstore version.
Yeah.
It's the biggest one in the chain, they say now, and it has a full bar in it and everything. And it's amazing the size of the store. And of course, when you pull up and there's very few cars in the parking lot, you realize people are still scared, you know, and rightfully so. I was glad to see it. I think people are under the false impression this is over, and actually it's still going up. I mean, you know.
Well, we are. I think technically this is the east side, because I think on the other side of Eastway is Plaza Midwood, and I think this side, because Eastland Mall is right a couple blocks that way.
Oh, yeah.
So I think technically we're on the east side. So we're at Manolo's Bakery. We're going to walk into Manolo's, and I'm going to try to do this somehow. I didn't bring my stick, so we got to be creative. You may have to do the talking.
You want me to carry it?
Do you want to carry it?
Yeah, I'll carry it.
Okay, well, we're going to try to...
you're ordering, so,
yeah.
You know, I'm going to go
just
by.
keep it on you. That's fine. So we're at Manolo's Bakery, and we will turn the car on.
Gosh. We're here.
Yep. Oh.
Like, you look at my fashion choice there. I got my little rubber latex shorts on. Well, I gotta show my fashion. Of course, I gotta turn it to Christian.
Yeah. No, you gotta turn it back.
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
So one of the great things. Yeah, don't touch that button right there.
Okay.
Okay.
So like that?
Yeah.
How about like that?
Perfect.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So one of the great things about Manolo's is they started practicing safety really, really early. So when you come in, they will give you temporary gloves and.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's really good. I'm gonna get some producer, please. Some producer? No, hablo español. I don't speak Spanish.
What do you want?
I'm gonna get some producer.
Yeah, you can take it.
Can I get the tray?
Okay, they're gonna distribute something. Yeah.
Thank you.
How are you?
Oh, good. Thank you. So they'll give you the gloves, and then you get this as well. and then we will get our visit.
Isn't this interesting? Smells really good in here.
Oh, delicious. It's wonderful.
Christian's doing some serious business here.
So, have you eaten produce at when you were in Dallas, or did you ever?
Oh yeah, in San Antonio all the time. Like that was common. In fact, we went to a lot of the. At that time, they called it the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, San Antonio. Yes, yes.
Isn't
Look
that
at that. Isn't that beautiful? That's like art.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's just, they had so many markets down there, and in fact, if you went down to the Mercado, which was in downtown San Antonio, they had this huge market. I mean, there was 4 or 5 bakeries and restaurants down there, and Mitiera, which was one of the most famous ones.
Yeah, that's where it would have
That's where we had our meetings, and the food down there, just between their bakery and their restaurant was just unbelievable. You know, you instantly gained weight the moment you walked in there and breathed the air. You're like I'm already here, but the food was just, it would just melt off your mouth, and we'd have sometimes we'd have mimosa.
So they have padusa here, there's leche cakes, they're known for their bread, they have tamales, if you want to order tamales as well.
And the cakes are just unbelievable. They're beautiful.
Hi, how are you? Here you go. I carry the baby pack because it's so much easier to grab my wallet and everything.
Señora.
But it's beautiful. This whole bakery is just amazing, and it's an institution here. I mean, it's our sponsor for the coffee show, the one that precedes this every Wednesday. And I've had their cakes, I've had their other edibles, and it's just an incredible place.
Buenas, ¿cómo está?
Can I get an email to me?
Yes.
Okay.
But yes, it's definitely pretty cool. I'm grateful that it's here. I'm grateful it's open. But yes, probably a little boring for y'all watching at home, that we're hanging out here at the bakery. But we wanted to make a road trip here and show you the place that we talk about all the time on the coffee show for you guys that tune into both shows, and make it a road trip, a bakery road trip. So there's my shorts again. They're so cute. Thought I'd flash it because I don't think you can see it on the road truck. You can only see me from about the neck up.
Yeah.
But it's pretty hilarious. I am the fashion queen. And we have tons of... Actually covered the camera again. But we'll slide it back into its slot.
Yep.
In a second.
Ready?
And we pass it off.
There we go. Wow, technology.
Isn't that amazing?
Ta-da! So that's Manolo's Bakery. It's been around for since 1997, I believe.
Wow.
And you know, like you said, cakes, everything there. They have bread that's really good.
Oh, they got the cutest little signs too. They have a Manolo's Latin Bakery and Made in America by Immigrant Hands.
Yeah.
And you know, it's such a warm and inviting place too. It's very pretty. It's you can tell they take pride in what they do, and it's just immaculate. The food is just, you know, and I've had their food several times outside of the show, and then of course the show, we have it every week.
Yeah. And
it's an amazing, eclectic, beautiful bakery.
And he does so much within the community anyway. I mean, it's I mean, I joke with him all the time that, you know, people are always asking him to, like, donate for this or donate for that, and I was and he's so generous, you know, and he does that. It's funny. He told me this story about there was this big bank. I won't tell you the name of it because we have a lot of big banks here, and they were asking him to donate for like one of their some event they were having, and he said he didn't mind donating to them, but he was like, you know, you can afford to buy it.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, it's different if it was a nonprofit or if it was a charity.
Yeah,
but when you're a big bank, it's like, oh, come on.
That's it's almost a little skeezy, you know. It's like you know, and I know as an entrepreneur, and I've worked in several resort cities and things like that. When a for-profit company, even if they're doing a charity event, is asking to donate items, I'm like. Like, I could get it if it was a non-profit, but when a company comes to me, I'm like, no, you kind of need to pay for it. I mean, we don't mind giving you a discount.
That's actually what they should have done.
I would give them a corporate rate, but I'm like, that's kind of weird that you're asking me to donate when you're getting probably most of the street credit for this.
Exactly.
I mean, like, it's one of those really bizarre. I don't even know if it's a gray area, but it's a weird area, you know. And I've been in, as you have, we've both been involved with a lot of nonprofits and activism, and it's different if I say from the National Organization of Women or Charlotte Pride, which are two nonprofits. Then donations not only have a tax benefit
to Walgreens, or you know, it's like
I mean, but you know, but when a company, a for-profit, asks another for-profit, hey, would you like to donate? I'm like, are you kidding me?
No,
like,
that's called sales.
I guess it's the gift of the Greedy Foundation, but it's very bizarre.
But they can ask.
Yeah,
you know,
and it's hard. It's one of those really weird areas, and in activism and nonprofit, you know, type worlds, it's always a weird spot to be in. Anyway. It's always, you know, in business,
because you know they're just going to go out to like Publix or Harris Teeter and buy it. Yeah. You know, so anyway.
Yeah, they would never go to a major grocery chain and ask that same thing.
Exactly.
They would go out and buy it.
Yeah.
You know, and they'd buy catering trays from them. But then they'll go to a small mom and pop, like Manola's, and approach them. I think, well, why is the rules different? You know, and my mom, being a restaurateur for 20 plus years in the Panhandle of Texas, she went through the same thing where people would hit her up and she's like, I can't donate to a business, you know, and she typically, even the nonprofits, had to be real careful because you get hit up all the time.
Exactly,
it can be, you can exhaust the resource, and nonprofits typically don't coordinate each other very well, so you don't know who's hit who.
Exactly.
You know? It's one of those real deals. I've done fundraising and marketing and public relations for nonprofits on a voluntary basis, especially the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm always really cautious when I approach businesses because I know they get hit up a lot unless they've donated like the previous 4 or 5 years. And it's like one of the things that I did for Panhandle Pride was soliciting corporate donations. But we had a list of corporate sponsors, so we had people that already donated, and major donors. So that really was not that hard. You know, we'd get a few new ones every year, you know, your sponsor list, just like Charlotte Pride.
Remember I talked about how that guy at that other McDonald's snuck in front of everyone?
Yeah.
So, should I get in the right lane or should I wait?
Well, yeah, but there's 2 lanes. It's intended to be 2 lanes.
Okay. I don't want to...
See, because you were here.
Yes. But see, this guy is stuck behind the other person.
Well, yeah, but he chose to stay.
Yeah, I didn't want to like make fun of the other person.
Well, that was different though, because that was technically you're supposed to leave that right deal for passing through only. At that
Coke,
McDonald's. Diet Coke,
basket of fries,
and a basket of fries.
Hi, yes. Can I get a basket of fries, a large Diet Coke, a McDouble, a McChicken, a 4-piece McNugget, and a small fry? Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Everybody, it's
No, so I didn't want to like. Yeah, the other one was different because he literally.
yeah,
Like-
but
like
well,
went
that
around
lane
everyone.
wasn't a double lane,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was not intended for
Yeah.
people to go down that and then slip
Yeah.
in front of people. So
Yeah.
that dude actually went up and around.
Yeah.
So he was like doing the sneak attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas this is designed to be a splitter,
Yeah.
you know, to that way people can go through that part of the line, because there's another lane over there
Mhm.
that actually is the pass-through line to go
Yeah.
to the other part of the shopping center, which this is a huge shopping center.
Yeah, and they.
A lot of nice businesses.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, this is, you know, it's one of those places that you could tell at one time was like, you know, a
Probably-
real hopping,
Yeah.
almost like our Arboretum, you know,
Yeah.
or something. But then, you know,
Just
it's
time.
yeah.
They got a really nice. I've stopped at this QT.
Oh, I love QT. Have you had the grilled cheese sandwiches?
No, grilled cheese.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Oh god,
The
they're
vegan.
so good. They're so delicious.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they are. I wish some more places use the vegan cheese for the grilled cheese. Like that would be fabulous.
It is just.
I bet it is. I'm sure. Like, you know, and it's funny. When we were kids, you never thought about eating gas station food.
Exactly.
Like
Now it's like.
and the same way with the food trucks, because we used to call them as a kid roach coaches.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that was the nickname for food trucks.
Mhm.
Food trucks meant you were probably going to take chances with food poisoning and
Mhm.
other ailments, and that only certain types of people bought from the roach coaches.
Yeah.
But they
Mhm.
weren't as elaborate as they are now.
Yeah, yeah, now
And
they're
now
like, you know-
food trucks are the cool thing.
Yeah,
right?
well, and they're
Yeah.
gourmet. I mean, they're like, you know,
Oh.
very serious.
But there's tons of vegan food trucks now, and I mean, they're restaurants on wheels. I mean,
Mhm.
they, you know, what an innovation for COVID too.
Mhm.
You know, if there was ever a time for a restaurant to add a food truck, it would be now,
Yeah.
because outdoor dining is so much more preferential, where you
Yeah.
can walk up or
Sit
have an
outside.
app or text them an order and then have it waiting for you, and then you just go up into the food truck and already have it paid for, and,
Yeah.
and
My cousin of mine in Dallas, he's an investor in these restaurants, or I don't know if it's 2 restaurants or whatever. And after COVID and you know, all that kind of stuff happened, I think they just bought a food truck.
which is smart.
Yeah, and so I think it was probably just 3 weeks ago that they are going to be operating a food truck as well, so that way they can, you know, pivot, you know, to what they can't do in the restaurant. I don't know if it's a brewery or if it's just alcohol or whatever. But
Well, and a lot of breweries, I know invite food trucks
to park
or
at, like there's one over here
park,
that does
yeah,
that. Yeah,
all the time.
Uh-huh.
You see it on Central,
Mm-hmm.
where it says in South End and all the other happening brewery parts of the town, and you see food trucks, because I mean, a lot of breweries don't want to mess with the kitchen. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of, I mean, brew pubs used to be a thing where you had the food.
Do you think that they're going to change now because of the fact that you know, if you don't serve food, you're either a brewery or a bar,
Yeah.
right? And the ones that are able to stay open are the ones that serve food.
Well, breweries are the exception to the rule,
Okay.
because they are technically baking or creating food,
Oh, okay.
or liquid food.
Yeah, because that's a big controversy.
They actually are not considered a bar.
Oh,
So
okay.
from what I understand, because in phase 2, a regular bar can't be open in North
Yes,
Carolina.
which is why they're upset, because they're saying, what's the difference between
well, they still got to
a
go by
brewery-
health code standards.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the difference between that and buying prepackaged alcohol from a distributor is, one, you're not you don't have any food safe rules with your place. You just have the safe serve for the alcohol.
Okay.
It's a way different cleaning standard.
Yeah.
And both working in places in restaurants and in bars
Mhm.
that are just straight up bars, your staff in a straight up bar usually, I mean, I'm not going to say they were unclean,
Mhm.
but this cleaning standard is way lower.
Yeah.
It always has been in every dance club I've ever worked in,
Mhm.
things like that. I can see that. Also, regular clubs are usually louder,
Yeah.
which means people are yelling out more.
And it's spewing stuff a lot more. Yeah.
You're going to have a tough time with social distancing. You're also probably going to have a dance floor in a lot of cases. So, again, you are...
Yes.
It's really hard to have a dance club in social distance. So I think there is a lot of challenges with a bar or a nightclub, a traditional nightclub, versus a brewery that's more like a restaurant where people sit far apart. A lot of them sit outside.
Okay, thank you.
It's more conducive to social distancing. And a lot of breweries usually aren't packed, you know, and they have, and they're usually bigger.
So do you think it? I mean, so you agree with not opening bars, but allowing breweries? Because that's what the big controversy is.
Well, I mean really small closed-in dive bars are dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, that is this, you know, with people not social distancing and being on top of each other. It's just going to create such a spread of COVID. I mean, you look at the case up in Michigan. There's one hopping spot in one of the cities that I can't recall the name, but first weekend they opened, they had over 120 cases come from that one place on one night.
That's crazy.
And so in Texas, they just closed bars again. You know, for that very reason, they just reversed their decision. So they're actually going backwards because they realize bars, traditional bars, are meant for, they have jukebox music going on or live music, which means people get closer. They're also spitting on each other. You know, they're probably not going to wear masks. You know, it's just because it's social. And even though you can have a conversation with a mask on, we're having a conversation with everybody that's watching at home or at the office. And it's one of those crazy things where, I mean, bars for the indefinite future probably won't be open.
I just don't see how that's going to happen. I mean, it just doesn't seem safe.
Which is devastating, you know, and I understand the economics of it. I would hate to be in that. I would hate to be in that business right now.
It's supposed to be a basket of fries.
The basket of fries? Well, that's what you ordered?
Yes,
Okay, I can't take it back.
Okay.
Let me see your receipt.
Okay.
So you had the McDouble, the 4-piece? You were charged for the fries. You weren't charged for a basket of fries.
That's fine. I'll pay for it if they got it wrong.
I can't take orders right here.
Okay.
But you can tell me size.
That's fine. Thank you. They gave me a large fry.
That's good.
For the basket.
That's all good. That's plenty of calories. I
Well,
promise you I won't starve. At least they didn't charge you for it.
Yeah, they didn't. I guess I should have seen if they charged. So this was a McDonald's that is on Eastway. Is it Eastway?
Yeah, it's Eastway.
Eastway, and I'm going to tell you, this is the second time I've been to this McDonald's, and it's the second time they've screwed up my order.
Yeah.
One time I came here and I was coming early to a march at the International House, Latin American Coalition. I was going to a Cesar Chavez march with Action and C, and they were starting at the Latin American Coalition, and I was coming. I had enough time to get me breakfast, and so I stopped by there, and I ordered my food, and then they were waiting, and then they missed my breakfast sandwich, and I was like, you missed my breakfast sandwich, and they told me the exact same thing, sir, you have to come inside, but I was running late, so I didn't. So, note to people, be careful. Sorry.
It's all good. It's just crazy, you know. It's like, instead of just going and saying, well, you know, it's our bad. And we both have been in the hospitality business. And it's one of the things, it's why a lot of quick dining, quick serve places get such a bad rap. Is that lack of quality service.
Or just the lack of ability to, you know what, sir, I'm sorry, let me grab another fry for you real quickly. And this will be, you know, something that,
Yeah, I wouldn't have sat there and argued like
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
poor training.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to whoever's running that place.
Yeah. And I know that they're busy and they get volume.
All the more reason.
So they probably think whoever owns it or runs it probably thought, well, we got a business anyway. But as we all know, all it takes is a couple of bad experiences, and then people say, don't go there. Go to the Wendy's or go to some other place.
You know, I'll drive out of my way to go to a place that has good customer service versus a place
so will
like
I.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Certain McDonald's locations. I'm not just picking on McDonald's because there's other chains that are notorious for bad service. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons you see a lot of them decline. You can tell who really pushes service and who doesn't, and it really goes back to intentionality of the company.
Yeah, the McDonald's that's over there on Pineville Matthews, the one at the Arboretum is good. Yeah. And also the one that's across from Catholic High School. That's really, I mean, I've been to that McDonald's several times, and they're always, thank you, sir. How, I mean, they're they're fast, and they're just really,
the one in Waverly. I've picked up for customers, and I've picked up for myself. Yeah, and it's always been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Favorite businesses are in the Waverly area.
Yeah.
It seems like, and there's a lot of competition there too. Now, see, they sit in the same parking lot with a Chick-fil-A. With a Viva Chicken.
How do you like the Viva Chicken?
Well,
have you been there? Or
I love their sweet potato fries.
Okay. Yeah.
They make the best sweet potato fries in Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
I would fight anybody on that. And their little dipping sauces that are free are fabulous. Like, because
that's like a rotisserie. Is that like
it's a Peruvian place? So
I didn't realize
that. It is. It's part of the Latin community.
Oh, I didn't. I know.
It's North Carolina owned.
Okay.
And it started in North Carolina. It actually started in the Charlotte area, I believe. Charlotte or Greensboro, I can't remember which.
So is it like a Kenny Rogers or I mean, do they have Kenny Rogers anymore or I don't know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I can't compare it to a Boston market.
Yeah.
But Peruvian style.
Oh, okay.
So they have like the cilantro rice and their side dishes are where it's at.
Yeah.
I mean, their side dishes and their sauces, they make this green jalapeno sauce. They have a red sauce and an amarillo sauce, a yellow sauce that's very mild. But their sauces are just the bomb. And the place is even in just the carryout era, is always busy. But it's very well managed. Every Viva Chicken that I've been to in the greater Charlotte area has been very well managed. It's one of my favorite go-tos. If I see a Viva Chicken and I'm hungry, that's probably where I'm stopping in. And their carry-out business has always been good, even before COVID.
Yeah, Ruth and I had a meeting there once, and of course we were like the only two people there, and it was like 3 o'clock, so it wasn't peak time. And I thought, this is a nice concept, and
I love the background music. So they got this this dance music, this Peruvian, South American, Latin beat type atmosphere. It's very upbeat. It's very positive. It's very clean. It's very, I don't know. It's very contemporary.
Do they get very busy? Or
in the busy times, the line can be out the door.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah.
Before COVID, and I have not been to one since COVID, since I went into quarantine. And I'm dying to go into my favorite one in the Waverly area. The people there have been very supportive of me and very, the stuff that I brought for Tara Long's reception. Yeah. All those fries and all that stuff came from Viva Chicken that night.
Yeah.
So all those big
those
deals of rice, all that food came from Viva Chicken. And they cut me a really good deal, and they're very proactive. They do catering. They have a catering menu, and I like to support companies that are North Carolinian and Charlotte based, in which they are.
Okay.
And so kudos to them. But and as an LGBT person, as somebody that's visibly queer. I've been treated good at every location I went to. I've been to, I believe, 4 of their locations. Okay. And they have one in Elizabeth, they have one in Ballantyne, they have one in Waverly, and they have a couple others, I believe, in the greater Charlotte area. But But yeah, their sides are to die for. Since I don't eat meat, so I'm not gonna eat their chicken. But I've been told by my customers that their chicken's phenomenal.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I think I had chicken and or
that's what they're known for.
Yeah,
it was. I mean, that's part of their name.
So this always makes me so afraid. So, do I zoom by this person? Do I stay back?
That thing's massive.
I know.
It's always scary, especially when you see that mixer turning.
And these streets are so tiny on Providence. That, Okay, here we go.
This part of Providence Road, for people that maybe aren't in the Charlotte area, it's a 4-lane road, but it has one of those center grassway green belt things. And so there's no
room on this. There's like these electricity poles right there.
Electricity poles almost right
literally,
on the road.
right on there. So
there's no bike lane. There's no path. There's no side deal. So the curbs of this street are really like a neighborhood street.
Yes.
So it's like a really wide neighborhood street. And Providence is a major thoroughfare in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Beautiful street.
Highway 16.
Yeah, Highway 16.
State highway.
But it's more like a parkway without the parking.
Yeah.
And it's very curvy. At night, it's very dark. They don't believe in lighting. And so it can be a little spooky coming back from uptown and taking 16 all the way.
So you said, have you been to a place to sit down and eat since you have?
I have not.
Oh, so you still have? Okay.
I have not done dining yet. I've done to go. I went to Maria's because of their stance on the masking. So I went in and got it to go. I called in an order. And picked it up. They make it real easy. You can just look at their menu online. So I wanted to reward them for that. So I went and got some of their vegan. They have a great vegan menu too. So I got some vegan stuff to go. I've gone to several places and gotten to go stuff. And predominantly just shopped at supermarkets. I've tried to limit my touches with society just because
I try not to be around, like, even if like on Tuesdays is when I go do all my grocery shopping.
Right.
And it's all planned, and I don't like to like stand around.
No.
I get it. I think I don't know, I was watching some doctor, it was a Dr. VR show, but and they said something about you don't want to stand around someone more than 15 minutes.
Right.
That's like the maximum. And even when you're wearing, whatever you're doing. And so I just try to move around or whatever. But we went, was it last weekend, or weekend before, we went up to the mountains. And they require you wear face coverings everywhere, and all their staff was wearing face coverings. Yeah, and it was wonderful. And I was a little nervous, and they set us next to this table, and of course we all took our face coverings off, and they had tables separated. But there was one table where this guy, and he was just talking so loud, and he was like one of those big boisterous guys, and I said, do y'all mind if we move to the other side over there? And he was just one of those North Carolina blowhards, so to speak.
You're just being a little loud, little haughty.
He didn't have an inside voice.
And you have to think, and it probably wasn't that young.
Yeah.
But when you see somebody, especially a man, men already take up more space than women do anyway, just by their presence. You see how men will posture and man spread and just really take up room at his table or in a gathering. And then when they're insanely performatively loud,
that's a polite way of being
somebody that you go, you're already so over the top that sometimes I will actually purposely mirror a guy like that. So if I'm in a group circled up conversation and that dude is really trying to take over, I'll push back. I know it's hard for you to believe, but I'll start to get a little over the top because I'm like, dude, I need to back you down a little bit because it's just like I'll see people overwhelm people and it's hard to sit next to somebody like that. I don't blame you for that.
I can't handle that and ready kids. Those are the two things I just don't like loud, that kind of.
Which I've never understood why people take their kids to a public
Thank
space
you.
and let them run
Exactly.
wild.
I
never did with my kids. That was the rule.
And to think that
In an indoor space.
that's appropriate, you know.
I
but,
can understand
Yeah.
if it was one of these like old-timey barbecue places that has a big porch.
Exactly.
And an outdoor space
With
and a
cornhole,
playground.
you know, or something. You
Yeah,
know,
where there's
yeah.
activities.
Yeah.
And it's appropriate to run free.
Yeah.
But when I took my kids to any events,
Uh-huh.
if we were indoors, I go, you're in an adult space.
Yep.
Act like it.
Yep.
You must have manners.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
Yeah. All it took
And-
is
and-
like one look from your parents, and they'd be like, okay.
Yeah, and I didn't believe in spanking,
Yeah.
but my kids knew
Uh-huh.
that I wouldn't take them to fun places again
Yeah.
if they got out of sorts.
Mhm.
So it rarely happened for me.
Mhm.
And it only took me, even if other kids stirred them up, I'm like, that's no excuse.
Yeah.
Just because their parents don't care how they act.
Yeah. Exactly.
I say people are always watching you.
They are.
Always watching you.
We are.
Yeah, and we're in a situation where people are actually watching us.
Exactly.
And thank you for doing that. Thank you for tuning in. Whether you're watching it live or you're watching
Yeah.
it later on at
Uh-huh.
your leisure. But I think when you are in front of people,
Uh-huh.
whether you're a private citizen or you're in the media like
Yeah.
we are, I think there's an obligation
Yeah.
of decorum. Like you can't, like you want to be a little entertaining.
But not a fool.
But there's a fine line between a fool or a clown
Yeah. Exactly.
and being over the top to where
Yeah.
you're invading people's space by
Yes.
being so loud
Yeah.
that guests near you are getting annoyed. And you
Exactly.
can tell
Yeah.
if people are getting up and moving and they haven't
Yeah.
ordered yet. That should be your cue that maybe I'm
Yeah.
being a jackhole.
And I was almost a little nervous to do that because I didn't want to hurt their feelings, you know. But then I thought, well, you know, why? He's not worried about our feelings, so
Yeah.
why do I worry about, you know, their feelings? Plus, we had, you know, Andy's parents that are in their 80s, and I didn't, you know. Anyway, so that was the only time I've been out to eat since then. I haven't we haven't done anything since then.
So do we have anybody we're going to nominate for the 10 Foul Award?
Yes. Oh, great. And I didn't make one. Who do you want to nominate?
Well, I think for the first one, it's got to go to Trump. He wins the first one, and you know, of course, you have those conspiracy theorists that wear the tinfoil hats
Yes,
and stuff like that.
so our
this
first-
is the 10 Foul, like
10 Foul.
FOUL
Yes.
award. So you're
Yes.
being very foul
Yes.
with your conspiracy theories.
Yes.
I think it's dedicated to Trump and all of his legions of supporters that won't wear a flipping mask.
Yes.
If you don't have the compassion and intelligence
Yes.
to understand why you wear a mask,
Uh-huh.
stay home. But the award goes to y'all.
Yes.
Being all paranoid.
So the winner of this week's 10 Foul Award goes to President Trump and his followers, which are getting smaller.
Yeah, he's losing them by the day.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they're getting a little bit smaller, and you know, and I just don't know what to say.
But don't you think though that I think people are realizing that he's on the wrong side of history
Yes.
with this COVID, and as the numbers roll up, there's a point where you can't deny it anymore. Kind of like the Earth being round versus being flat.
Okay, Jenny, do you remember we had these conversations almost probably the beginning of the year and the end of the year when Jeff, we were talking about anything can change, and he said he felt like it's going to be a runaway and it's
Yeah, he
going to be a
did.
landslide and this.
By that much.
Yeah, yes, and remember we were talking, and I said, watch as it goes on, more and more people, because human nature, and you talked about this the other day too. Some people just understand human nature,
Yeah.
and some people get it, some people don't. And at the end of the day, everyone wants to be on the winning side. Whether you're a football fan or whether you're a political fan, you eventually pivot to who you think might have a better chance of winning or whatever.
Especially when you're on the wrong side of history.
No,
whether,
exactly.
Whether it's like George Wallace and civil rights,
Yes.
you know, or COVID and human rights
Yes.
to be safe in public spaces.
So there's nothing worse
Yeah.
than not only losing, but
Nobody
then
wants to be associated with that.
yeah,
right?
but then
Like,
also being on the wrong side. So I knew as we got closer, and I think it's going to get even more, that there were people that were big supporters of him that would now be pivoting to start to say, they're going to be more quieter.
Biden's not so bad.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not that
like-
bad.
Like, we had him as a vice president for 8 years.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He seems like he's a pretty chill dude.
Yeah.
And I can't be. What will my kids and grandkids think
Yeah.
if I still keep supporting him? So yeah, I think I've seen less Trump signs out.
Yes.
Especially since the Tulsa rally.
And there will be some as we close the election because that's the nature. But I equate it to a Dallas Cowboy fan. A Dallas Cowboy fan, we love the Cowboys. We love the Cowboys. But when we know we're having a bad year, we start going, there's always next year, and then we start supporting another team.
You start seeing less Cowboys gear.
Exactly.
It starts going into people's closets. Where's your Dallas Cowboy jacket? Oh, it's in the closet, and I left it at home. You know,
so we're like Dallas Cowboy fans, whereas the Trump people are like Eagles fans. They're dicks. And regardless,
sorry to all Eagles fans out there.
Regardless of the Eagles have a good season, they're diehard Eagles fans, and they're just
but
dicks.
there's just few of them.
Yeah, exactly. So there's few.
Unless they're going to the Super Bowl. And then there's a lot of bandwagon fans.
Yes. And all it takes is one win, and then of course
And Trump is definitely not going to the Super Bowl this year.
He's not.
Yeah, I think he's going more towards the toilet bowl.
That's right.
And hopefully we can flush that mentality out of our nation, because when you rail against science the way he has,
he's just
you got to question. Your intelligence. You got to question that person's intelligence.
Yeah.
To me, anybody that's anti-mask, and they're scrambling by making all these different fake documents, like the fake CDC thing that's going around, the fake
Is that
OSHA
crazy?
thing. And people are cutting and splicing because they're so desperate to hang on to a narrative that masks don't work.
That's like trying to sneak in and buy beer like with a fake ID.
Yeah.
Is that so childish?
And 181 countries that have done masking and made it a requirement have all beat COVID.
Yeah.
And the only countries that don't make masking a requirement is Mexico, the United States, and Brazil. They're number 1, number 2, and number 3 right now on COVID transmission. So I'm not saying that science is right, absolutely, but in this case, it's absolutely right. I mean, like, it's worth washing your hands, wearing a mask, distancing yourself, not cramming 50 people into a space of 20 people. It has absolutely worked. Anybody that's that obnoxious that won't wear a face covering, a fashion, it's like going out your house without your pants on and just wearing a thong to a formal.
Well,
that's a different show. Which will say that for when I'm about to go to purgatory.
That's right.
The night event, not the play.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Now there's a purgatory event. There's one coming up in August. They might be able to still have it. We don't know. But someone can't get the first time. But anyway, but definitely wearing masks. It's intelligence and compassion.
Yep. Well, listen.
You either have it or you don't.
That's exactly. This is a great show. Happy July 4th.
Happy July 4th.
Or happy Independence Day. So we will see you next week. I guess that is what, the 8th?
It is the 8th. It's 7 days from now. We get a Wednesday every week. It's really cool that way. Hump day comes no matter whether we want to or not.
Words are hard.
Words are hard.
Words are hard.
Words are hard.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
We'll see you later. We threw no shade today.
Yes.
Except the Trump. All right. Let's start.